Imagine you are standing in the pasta aisle.
Okay.
It's a scene of overwhelming abundance. To your left, a wall of 47 different kinds of dried pasta. To your right, a refrigerated section humming with another 20 fresh varieties. You see linguine, fettuccine, bucatini, cascatelli. Some are bronze die cut, some are organic, some are gluten-free.
Right.
Some are made with ancient grains by Italian monks on a remote sun-drenched hillside. All you wanted was to make a simple dinner. But now, you're frozen.
Yeah.
The sheer volume of possibility has turned a simple choice into a low-grade existential crisis. This feeling, this quiet supermarket aisle paralysis, this is the shadow of modern freedom. And that shadow is where we are going to begin.
And in that moment, you're no longer just a shopper.
Right.
You're forced to ask yourself these profound questions. Who am I really? Am I a rustic, bronze die-cut person? Or am I more spiritual, ancient grain monk kind of person? And maybe you just walk out with nothing because the pressure to make the perfect choice, the one that truly represents you, was just too much. It sounds trivial, but that feeling is the very thread we're going to pull on today. Welcome to IdeaWeave. I'm Maya.
And I'm Leo. And today we're untangling a word we all think we understand. A word that's at the heart of our modern identity, freedom. We talk about it as if it's oxygen. You know, essential, pure.
Right.
Something we can never, ever have too much of.
But what if it's more like sugar?
Ooh.
What if that sweet promise of unlimited freedom is actually making us less happy, more anxious, and paradoxically, less free?
That's the central finding of psychologists like Barry Schwartz.
Yes.
Who famously termed it the paradox of choice. His research is as simple as it is profound.
Right.
He demonstrated that as the number of options increases, our satisfaction with whatever we end up choosing actually decreases.
It's the haunting of the unchosen.
Exactly.
It's the ghost of the choices you didn't make. If you choose one path, you're actively rejecting 46 others. And your brain, in the quiet moments, starts to wonder, was this the best one? Maybe that other one would have been just a little bit better. It's that fear of missing out.
Right.
But applied to every tiny decision in our lives.
Precisely. So Schwartz identifies two fundamental approaches to this dilemma.
Okay.
We can be maximizers or we can be satisficers. Maximizers are the people who feel compelled to find the absolute, objectively best option.
Yes, I know.
So they will research every detail, they will read every single review.
These are the people who have a 10-page spreadsheet comparing features for a new coffee machine.
Exactly. And satisficers are those who have a set of internal criteria. And once they find something that meets those criteria, they choose it.
Okay.
And then, crucially, they move on. They are content with good enough. Now, what Schwartz's research consistently found was that maximizers, while they might on some objective level make slightly better choices,
Right.
they are consistently less happy. They're plagued by regret and self-doubt.
So the person who spent 3 weeks agonizing over research to find the perfect toaster is actually less happy with their morning toast than the person who just walked into a store and bought the one that looked nice and was on sale.
Yeah.
That feels so deeply, intuitively true to life.
Right.
It's the sheer weight of all that information.
And there's a very real neuroscientific reason for that weight. I mean, making a choice, especially one that leads to a reward, gives our brain a little hit of dopamine. It's a pleasant, reinforcing sensation. But when faced with an overwhelming number of choices, the brain doesn't register it as a field of wonderful possibilities.
No.
It registers it as a cognitive threat. The amygdala, our brain's primal alarm system, starts to light up. We get stressed, we feel anxious, and our cognitive resources become depleted. It's a well-documented state called decision fatigue.
It's as if our brain's hardware, its operating system, was designed for a world with 3 basic choices, eat the berry, run from the tiger, or take a nap.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to run 1,000 complex applications at once, and the whole system just lags and eventually freezes. We are, in a sense, biologically mismatched
Totally.
with the very world we've built.
That's a perfect analogy. And this isn't a new problem philosophically speaking.
Right.
The existentialists were wrestling with this very dilemma a century ago. Jean-Paul Sartre, in one of his most famous declarations, said, "Man is condemned to be free."
Condemned.
Yeah.
That's such a powerful, violent word to pair with freedom. It sounds like a prison sentence.
For Sartre, it was a profound burden. Because if we are totally and absolutely free, then we are totally and absolutely responsible for everything we do and everything we are. There's no destiny, no divine plan, no pre-written human nature to fall back on as an excuse.
Wow.
It's all on you. Every single choice you make defines who you are. And that level of responsibility, he argued, is terrifying.
It's the terror of the ultimate blank page. You can write anything, and that's a beautiful thought.
Right.
But it's also horrifying. Where do you even make the first mark? The Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard had a wonderfully poetic phrase for it. He called anxiety the dizziness of freedom.
Yes, it's the feeling you get when you stand at the edge of a high cliff.
Okay.
The fear isn't just of accidentally falling, it's the dizzying, terrifying realization that you could, at any moment, choose to jump.
Whoa.
Nothing stopping you. That's the dizziness. And for thinkers who followed, like Erich Fromm, modern society became a grand project to escape this dizziness.
Right.
We've traded that deep, terrifying existential freedom for the shallow, manageable freedom of consumer choice.
So we've dodged the big, scary questions by distracting ourselves with an endless stream of small, easy ones.
Yes.
What should my life's purpose be? That's a question that can keep you up at night.
Yeah.
Which Netflix series should I binge watch this weekend is a much more manageable one. But the underlying anxiety doesn't just vanish.
No.
It just festers underneath the surface. I think it was Fromm who said modern man has been freed from external bonds only to be enslaved by internal ones. We've become our own jailers.
Which brings us to a more modern and I think a more constructive way of looking at all of this.
Okay.
It's a framework called self-determination theory developed by the psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan.
I love this theory.
Me too.
It feels like an antidote to the dizziness.
It is. It reframes the entire question.
Right.
Deci and Ryan argue that true, meaningful freedom, the kind that leads to genuine well-being, it isn't about having infinite choice.
Right.
It's about satisfying 3 innate, universal psychological needs. The first is autonomy.
And this is so much deeper than just independence. Autonomy is the feeling that you are the author of your own life, that your actions and choices are aligned with your own authentic values and interests. You can be in a deeply committed relationship or have a very demanding job and still feel a high degree of autonomy
Right.
if you feel at your core that you have chosen those commitments freely.
The second fundamental need is competence. This is the feeling that you're good at what you do, that you're effective and capable of mastering challenges.
Yeah.
It's that deep satisfaction of learning a new skill, solving a difficult problem, or simply feeling effective in your world.
It's that feeling of flow, isn't it?
Totally.
When you're so absorbed in a meaningful challenge that you lose all track of time, that's the feeling of pure competence at play.
And the third and perhaps most overlooked need is relatedness. This is our innate need to feel connected to others, to care for and be cared for by them. It's our fundamental need for belonging.
And this one feels so radical in our hyper-individualistic world, a world that often equates freedom with being totally untethered and self-sufficient. This theory says no, you cannot be truly free if you are all alone.
Right.
Freedom requires connection to have any real meaning.
So, according to self-determination theory, an activity that makes you feel autonomous, competent, and connected is what will ultimately make you feel truly free.
Exactly.
Not the 47 types of pasta. Let me ask you, Maya, when was the last time you felt genuinely deeply free.
It's funny you ask. When I really search for that feeling, it's never been on a vacation where I had nothing but open-ended days. It's always been when I was deeply engaged in something difficult. A creative project I cared about, working with a team I trusted and admired. I had constraints, I had deadlines, I had responsibilities.
Okay.
But my choices within that structure felt powerful and meaningful. I felt competent. I felt connected to my team.
Yes.
And I felt like I had chosen, with my whole heart, to be there. I felt autonomous. It's the paradox in action.
And that highlights it perfectly. We think freedom is the absence of limits.
Right.
But maybe real freedom is the presence of the right limits, the limits we choose for ourselves. This difference in perspective also shows up beautifully in how different cultures around the world conceptualize freedom.
That's a great point. In many Western individualistic cultures, freedom is centered on the self. My choices, my rights, my self-expression. It's a very I-focused concept.
But in many collectivist cultures, freedom is defined in a completely different way.
How so?
It's often linked to a sense of harmony, to fulfilling your duty to your family or your community, to playing your part in a larger whole. The goal isn't to stand out.
Right?
It's to fit in harmoniously. A fish might be free in the ocean,
Yeah.
but its freedom is defined by the school it swims with and the currents it navigates.
Which can sound restrictive to a Western ear.
It can.
But it's really just a different set of priorities. It's prioritizing the we over the I. It's another way of confirming that freedom without relatedness, without connection, feels hollow and meaningless.
The contemporary philosopher Byung-Chul Han takes this critique even further.
Oh, yeah.
He argues that in our modern neoliberal society, we've internalized the demand to be free and successful so completely that we have become our own tyrants. He calls our era the burnout society.
I've read his work. It's chillingly accurate. He says we're no longer oppressed by an external king or a visible boss.
Right.
We are oppressed by the relentless internal command to achieve, to optimize our lives, to be endlessly productive, to turn our very freedom into a constant project of self-improvement.
The freedom to work anytime, anywhere, quickly morphs into the unspoken pressure to work all the time, everywhere.
Ugh, yes.
The freedom to become anything you want becomes the crushing anxiety that you're not becoming enough.
So we're not just condemned to be free, as Sartre said. We're condemned to be successful. And when we inevitably fall short, there's no one left to blame but ourselves.
Right.
That, Han says, is the direct path to burnout. We are utterly exhausted by our own freedom.
So where does this whole journey leave us? We're drowning in a sea of choices. Our brains aren't biologically equipped for it. Philosophy tells us it's a profound source of anxiety.
Yeah.
And our modern culture has turned it into a high-stakes performance metric. It all sounds pretty bleak.
It does. But I don't think it has to be. I think there's a way through the paradox. It's not about rejecting freedom. It's about redefining it. We've been sold a cheap, commercialized definition of freedom. The freedom of the supermarket aisle.
The freedom of endless, shallow, meaningless choice. A quantitative freedom.
Right.
Where the assumption is always that more is better.
Exactly. But what if real freedom is qualitative? What if it's about depth, not breadth? The great irony is that to gain this deeper freedom, you have to willingly give up the shallow kind. You have to choose your limits. You have to commit.
Like an artist who achieves mastery by choosing to work only with 3 primary colors, or a poet who finds genius within the strict constraints of a sonnet.
Yes.
The structure, the limits, that's what forces creativity and gives birth to meaning. Nietzsche wrote, "He who cannot obey himself will be commanded."
Wow.
True freedom is a form of self-mastery, of self-command.
It's about deciding what truly matters, and then having the courage and discipline to lovingly ignore everything else, to choose your one pasta and walk away happy with your choice.
Yeah.
Because you know why you chose it. Maybe freedom isn't the ability to choose everything.
Right.
It's knowing what's worth choosing.
Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, captured this with such power. He said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response."
Okay.
He said, "In our response lies our growth and our freedom."
That space, that tiny sacred pause, that's where it all happens. The world will never stop presenting us with stimuli, choices, pressures, expectations. But the real freedom is found in that quiet moment before we react. The freedom to choose our why.
So, in the end, true freedom isn't a destination you arrive at, a final state of having no constraints at all.
No.
It's a practice. It's the continuous, conscious, moment-by-moment act of choosing what you give your attention and your life to.
We're starting this journey in the pasta aisle, feeling small and paralyzed. And we've ended up here, with an idea of freedom that feels quieter, calmer, and infinitely more powerful. Maybe freedom isn't about having no limits.
No.
It's choosing the ones that make you feel alive. The commitments, the passions, the people, the things that give your life a beautiful, meaningful shape, like a trellis for a climbing vine. The structure doesn't imprison the vine.
Right.
It gives it a direction to grow. It gives it the support it needs to reach the sun.
And maybe that is the ultimate freedom. Not breaking all the chains, but consciously choosing which ones you are willing to wear. The ones that connect you to something larger than your own fleeting desires. Your purpose, your community, your love. Because a life without any chains at all isn't free. It's just a drift.
Now, here's a question we'd like to leave you with. When was the last time you felt truly, deeply free? Forget the dictionary definition. What were you doing, and what did it feel like in your body? We would love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you for weaving ideas with us.